Subnautica has to be one of my favorite indie games of all time. What starts off as a simple sci-fi survival game on an alien planet quickly turns into one of the best exploration games ever made. And there's actually quite a lot of horror and other elements thrown in, even if it's not completely intentional. It's a very spooky game, it's a very atmospheric game, it's a very beautiful game. There's a lot to love here. In the interest of getting back into this game for any reason, I decided to see if it was possible to play through all of Subnautica with no vehicles. Now, if you've never played Subnautica before, vehicles are kind of necessary, at least at a first glance. You need vehicles to go down deeper, you need them to mine rocks, you need them to be safe from the giant creatures. They're kind of crucial as far as a regular playthrough goes, but I figured there was some ways to get around that. At least that was my theory. So, I decided to see if it was possible to beat Subnautica without using any vehicles. Now obviously this is going to be showing off the entire game, so here's your spoiler warning. Ready? Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's get into it. To start things off, I picked a new game and chose the default survival mode. Waited through the really long loading screen and was dumped into the life pod. Hopped out with this nice little cinematic to show off the world, and I jumped right in. The first part of the game was pretty standard, mostly just collecting resources, picking up things, building stuff, and forgetting that I didn't have a big oxygen tank. Did a little bit of hand fishing, and headed back to the life pod to construct a bunch of stuff. Almost got blown up by some crash fish a few times, but I made it. Repaired the life pod, and everything was looking good. Constructed a sea glide. Now, as far as vehicles go, I'm not counting the sea glide as a vehicle. You have to do a lot of movement in this game, so I was able to move around with the sea glide efficiently without actually getting into a vehicle. I constructed a small base and made a fabricator inside it. From there, I started scanning stuff around the wrecks so I could get blueprints to improve my base. Added some more rooms to my base, a little bit of lighting, and I set up a second base near the jelly shroom cave. Made a lot of air pipes so I could get down there, and attached them one by one, very slowly, moving into the cave. After I got tired of that, I just swam down into the cave with the sea glide. No oxygen available. Made it into the base in the cave, and frantically tried to scan as much as possible before I ran out of oxygen. I did get what I wanted, and I eventually suffocated. After my successful foray into the cave, I started exploring some wrecks for some more supplies. Totally forgot about the radiation. Did a little bit of exploring of the floating islands. Really a creepy biome in general, even though there's not that much danger going on. I mean, it's so dark down there, you can't really see much. Added a little bit of light to my base so I could see a little bit better. And then I headed out to the island to dry land for the first time. Took the tablet and moved into the alien facility. All story stuff that you're required to do. Did the little bit of story that I was supposed to do, and headed out. Fought some of these spider things up in the mountains as I was heading over to the teleporter. Took a nice screenshot on the way up. Put the ion cube in the teleporter, jumped in, and I was off to the next island. From there I took my sea glide all the way down into the depths to build a new base. I had to speed this part up because it was so far down, it took a while to get down there. Found a nice ridge and built a giant room to start a new base. Beacons are always helpful, so I put that right outside. Moved up to the island just in time to hear the ship get shot down. Ran outside and saw a nice little explosion. Back to the task at hand, I started scanning everything in the bases on the island, picking up blueprints, everything you needed to do there. My base under the island was really far down, so I had to put in a ton of solar panels to support it. Built a base even further down with a heat generator. Oh, and I got a battery charger running for good measure. That was very helpful considering how many batteries I was using for the sea glide. Scanned everything in the base down there and made sure to pick up the tablet as well. Moved around through some hot zones. I only took a little bit of damage, so it wasn't really a big deal. Set a beacon at the entrance to the Lost River. Decided to take a quick detour to the Mushroom Forest. Made a base on the border of the Bulb Zone. At this point I had like 10 plus bases going at once. Then I was off to the Aurora. It's always hard figuring out where you can get in here. Oh, and the Leviathan was just waiting for me. Luckily he never found me and I got on the Aurora with no issue. Put out some fires and made sure to collect all the PDA data along the way. Cut down a couple doors and collected more data. Repaired the generators so I wouldn't have to deal with the radiation anymore. Made sure to scan the prawn suit. I didn't intend on using vehicles, but it would be good to have in case anything went wrong. Grabbed the rocket platform, checked my surroundings, and hopped back into the water in the front of the Aurora. Looked out for the Leviathan, didn't see him, and booked it. Made sure to place the tiny Aurora in my base. Decorations are important. And headed all the way back to my deep base. From there I built a small base in the middle of the Lost River, only to realize I didn't have enough resources to actually get inside. And I drowned. Finished building my base, got inside, and realized that heat generators don't work in the Lost River unless you're directly next to a heat vent. I died again. This time I was prepared. I headed further into the Lost River next to a heat vent and built a working base there. Since I was already in the Lost River, I decided to make a pit stop at one of the labs, pick up some ion cubes, and scan some stuff. Unfortunately, I was a little far away from my base, and I drowned. Headed into one of the bigger labs to scan some more stuff. Once again, I got what I came for, and I drowned. Made a new base near the giant tree in the Lost River. This was my main base of operations in the Lost River because it was a very central location. Headed down into the inactive lava zone. Went as far as possible to see where I should make my next base, and drowned, of course. From there, I realized I did not have enough resources to go all the way down, so I took the very, very long route out. Seriously, I don't show it in the video, but 90% of my time in this run was going back and forth between bases trying to construct new stuff so I can get deeper down. The ghost Leviathan was not too happy with me, but I stuck to the walls and he didn't bother me. Now with some more materials, I was able to start a base at the edge of the lava zone. At least thermal generators work down here. Then I realized I needed even more materials that weren't down there, so I had to head all the way back out again. Seriously, these are like 15-20 minute trips all the way back. Moved to the bulb zone because I realized there was another Lost River entrance over here that might be a little easier to get in. That worked. It was actually a little bit faster going back and forth between those entrances, so I could get materials down faster to build bases quicker. Built the HQ down in the middle of the lava zone, and I was able to conduct the rest of my missions from there. Swam through the lava caves and made sure to pick up some rare materials on the way. Eventually got to the second to last alien facility and opened up the teleporter. The sea dragon Leviathan yelled at me a bit, but he didn't really bother me too much either. Then it was off to the very last alien base in the run. Managed to avoid the sea dragon Leviathan this whole time. I guess I just got lucky or something. Headed into the base, talked to the mama Leviathan, and got the final quest. I already knew at this point I was supposed to have some bush samples, so I collected them along the way and freed the babies right away. Healed myself from the infection, headed back in, and turned off the giant laser cannon. I was all set to make the Neptune rocket and head on out of there. After constructing the Neptune platform and checking the materials for all the rocket parts, I realized there was no way for me to get more ion cubes. The only thing I could possibly do was make a prawn suit with drill arms, head back down to the final facility, and mine those ion cubes, thus basically killing the run. The only thing I did with the prawn suit was walk it straight to the portal, teleport through, and drill the ion cubes. As soon as I got the ion cubes, I left the prawn suit down there and forgot about it. Spent a long time collecting materials, building parts, doing all the stuff you need for the Neptune rocket. And then I realized I needed the Cyclops. Unfortunately, you can only make the Cyclops shield generator inside the Cyclops. So I had to build a Cyclops, make the shield generator, and then get out of the Cyclops. I never actually even drove the Cyclops. At this point, the Neptune rocket was done. Did all the necessary steps to start it up, got prompted to make a time capsule, dropped a sea glide in there, and that was pretty much the end of the game. I hopped in the chair and I was off.
1.
So all in all, is it possible to beat Subnautica without vehicles? Well, yes and kinda no at the same time. I didn't technically use vehicles for the entire run until I realized that I needed some more ion cubes. Now it could have been that I actually missed some ion cubes and I could have made the batteries without creating the prawn suit at all, but I didn't really use the prawn suit to accomplish anything other than mining that one brick. Unfortunately, for the very last part, you definitely do need to make a Cyclops, because you can't make the shield generator unless you actually get into the Cyclops. Do you ever have to drive the Cyclops? No. The funny thing about the game mechanics is it actually lets you swim at any depth. All the vehicles require depth modules to go below a certain depth, but I guess they realized it would be too bad for the game design to not let you swim at a certain depth. So you can swim all the way down through the lava zone as long as you bring enough medkits, and build enough bases of course, because your only oxygen source is either going to be carrying a ton of tanks, which is really just a waste of inventory space, or building some bases as pit stops along the way. Which leads this to being quite a long run. I mean, I took my time with it, this wasn't a speedrun or anything, I had a lot of fun, but this probably took about 20 hours. I'd say a vast majority of my time was spent ferrying materials back and forth, building new bases as pit stops along the way, all the way down to the lava castle. I think by the end of the game I had a good 30 or so bases. But overall this was a really fun run to do, and I kind of recommend it if you've ever been Subnautica before and need a reason to play the game again. It totally makes you think about everything in the world in a completely different way. You're more at danger from monsters and stuff. You have to think about how to get places with limited oxygen supplies and the range of your sea glide and stuff. I had a lot of fun with it. If If you've never played Subnautica before and just got the entire game spoiled anyways, I still recommend playing it. It's a good game. Alright, until next time everybody, I will see you later.
In 3, 2, 1.